Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Hoops Journey, episode 152, with a through the lineage triple OG, we'll say. A gentleman who, the family story. You know this guy is a major hooper. He's back home for a little bit, so I had to hop on the opportunity to get him on the pod, as we've been talking about it for a while now. And it's always a challenge to find the time. A mid-range assassin from Vancouver College to UBC, now finding himself overseas with a super interesting story I want to dive into about how, pro basketball works in the Philippines. I know we're going to get into it. Currently waiting on the draft, trying to figure some stuff out. Super thrilled. And I know there's going to be so many people in our basketball community that are excited to hear us chop it up. We have none other than Mr. Jack Cruz-Dumont. How are you, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Big fan of the show. Big fan of what you're doing. So I'm excited to finally do this with you.
Our pleasure, man. How's home life? What's it like? Mom driving you crazy? She giving you your space?
No, it's not bad. I mean, coming back home after living on your own in a different country is obviously different. I don't have my car anymore, which hurts a little bit, a little less mobile in Vancouver. But I mean, it's super nice to be back. We're just, I just had all my cousins back. We're hanging out with them. Back in the Vancouver routine. Like Shams has been opening up VC in the morning, so I'm back at VC.
Nice. Yep.
Working with some of the varsity guys this morning, so it's good to be back.
Good, man. How many nights have you been to the Roxy?
Haven't hit the Roxy yet, but we had some nights out with the cousins.
Good. And I know you got to see, I know Gerald had you guys over, and obviously we'll talk about kind of your story a little bit, but wanted to touch on right away just sort of like what it's like, to have your dad's friends still be connected with you, and them and you guys making it such a priority to stay connected. It must be, like you talked about, being away from home now and having those opportunities to see Jerry, his kids, your Waterhouse and your extended family. Talk about how special that is for someone who goes away and then gets the opportunity to come back and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm super grateful for. It's, as I get older, I see how unique it is. I think it's a testament to the type of guy my dad was. He's got a real squad of homies that have always been around. They're all kind of like uncles to us. So it's always nice to reconnect. Whenever we're back, we go to dinners, us, Dom Zim, who's just popped in and said hi. A bunch of the guys, we were just at Gerald's last week, chopping it up. It's a great relationship. It's special, and it's something I really appreciate.
Good, man. Yeah, I always like seeing the stories because I know your aunts and everybody, or what is that, Tita? What do we call it?
Tita. Tita. That's what I'm working on now.
The Titas they've been going nuts in the coach's room all week, man. It's elite. There's no playing.
STM's got some good Filipino culture.
Yo, man. I had more lumpia than I wanted on Wednesday. I'll tell you that. I didn't eat for the rest of the day. So where are you at? You're currently waiting for the draft. What does that look like? We'll obviously get into it, but one of our assistant coaches is a Filipino kid. He graduated a couple of years ago, and he was we went to Victoria for a road trip, and he was explaining a lot of the ins and outs because he follows it quite. And he was telling me your situation about how you kind of got to go to university first. And so just give the listeners an idea of where you're at and why it is you're kind of sort of in a standstill right now.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into it more later in the pod. Basically, where I'm at right now is right before I came back. So, I was playing at a university team in the Philippines for the last 2 years. And then right before I came back, I signed with an agency and an agent that I really like and I trust, and I've had a good relationship with him for the last little bit. Basically, they just explained how I'll be waiting for the draft, but originally the draft was going to be in May for the PBA draft, but it got pushed back to September. So he actually, because it's there's a FIBA tournament in the summer, and that's the Philippines and that's overseas, things change a lot. So basically he actually called me yesterday and he said that we're getting some good offers from teams in the MPBL, which is another pro league in the Philippines. So that starts in March. So it looks like I'll probably be going out there in March to play in that league up until the draft in September. So it's basically where I'm at right now. I told him you just got to stay ready, and I'm excited for it.
And that's dope, man. And Talk about just culturally what it's like. I mean, you know, like the Filipino community loves basketball. I mean, you see the leagues at St. Pat's and things, but what it's like to actually be in the country. And like, I'm imagining there's days where, like, do you walk around and people know who you are yet? And is it like overwhelming? Like, it must be super fun, but also like a really interesting process to go through.
Yeah, I mean, like saying the Filipinos and the Philippines like loves basketball is like an understatement because it's on a level that like I don't know, maybe like soccer in Europe type thing. Like that's the type of environment it is.
Hmm.
At the university level, like, we're having 10, 15 in the bigger games. It was 20 like thousand fans at the games, which is like unreal. And they're just such a basketball culture and like community and history, and everyone's kind of just tuned into basketball, like everyone that like kind of is in the Philippines, like they at least like know of the league, know the teams, know what's going on. Like they're kind of in tune with it.
Yeah.
There's sponsorships, there's all these opportunities. Like they just treat it like the biggest thing ever, which is, I'm so grateful that I got to experience that because as someone that loves basketball, like if you love basketball, like there's nothing better than playing in that world where like basketball is treated like the biggest thing ever.
Hmm. It's dope, man. Love it. Let's go back. Let's do it. Obviously, the oldest of three, kind of grow up in a family where you've got mom and dad that are like all in with basketball, both played at a really high level. Was there ever a choice? Was it the little dunk hoop in the backyard and dunking on the little bros, or was it following mom and dad to the gyms? It just seems like obviously a natural thing, but was there something about it that came to you where you're like drawn to, or is it just kind of almost in the bloodline, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like basketball it's like part of the family, it's like it was put in front of us like as small as I can remember. Yeah, like Tykes hoop in the backyard. One thing my parents did, and which was like, one of the best things ever, was like when we lived in this house in Richmond, they actually had like a court kind of built. Like we just had to we had like a parking lot of like gravel and stuff, and then they actually got like blacktop pavement, and like we had a hoop. And like my whole childhood was our cousins. We all lived in the same house. Like my mom's a twin, so she has three boys and a girl. But yeah, she has three boys that are like the same age as us. And then so we all they lived on the other side of the duplex growing up. So there was like six guys. I mean, and all three of those guys are university athletes as well.
Yep.
One soccer, two, and then two football players. So like that was my childhood growing up, like 3-on-3 in the backyard, like every single day.
A lot of fights.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like they were just here over Christmas and we're talking about like, oh, when's the last time we played 3-on-3? And
Oh no,
that
you
was
didn't.
like a couple years ago, and we played 3-on-3 and like at like Mount Pleasant, and like it stopped because it was a fist fight. Like we can't even play. We can't even really play, but like that was the child, like that's how we grew up. Backyard Richmond kids type
Yeah.
of vibe. Like
Did you do anything else? Did you grow up with the standard soccer, try T-ball kind of thing, or?
yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
did everything.
Mhm.
And for me, like I was just as locked in on football up until like grade 10.
Mhm.
Super young age, we all went and played Richmond Raiders community football, which is dope. And the people there, like super invested. Like one of my best mentors, like has been Bobby Singh.
Hey,
Shout out Bobby.
amazing. That's dope. Yeah.
Is he, CFL, NFL, his kid was a year older than me.
XFL,
XFL, he's the only one with like a
right?
ring in every league. So like he was always my football coach, and like he would take me to like quarterback camps because I played quarterback. So it was football, and like, my cousins played football. Two of them like, stuck with football, like, but we all played every sport. So that was the situation. It was like football season in like September, August. Yeah, like early in the year, and then it goes into basketball season, and then it goes into spring flag football, and then it goes into AAU, and then that was just like the cycle for like 8 years probably.
Yeah. And then you just give it up because you just wanted to do basketball full time and kind of That was your
Yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Like I was like captain of like the JV football team at VC in grade 10.
Talk to him.
I was just as dialed in football, like all the way through.
Hmm.
And then varsity is a different level of commitment.
Sure.
And I mean, like I'm sure we'll talk about it. Like that's when my dad was sick and stuff
Hmm.
during that same like the start of like my grade 11 season. So that's when I was just like I kind of just lost like the drive for football and I just wanted to go all in on basketball at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and then that's when I really just like full on basketball. But yeah, like it was mixed like all growing up. And that's why, I'm sure you're a proponent of it. Like kids growing up, you got to play more sports. It teaches you things that you won't even understand till later, playing in different environments, being in different locker rooms, stuff like that. So yeah, we were a football, basketball family.
Hmm.
Now we're about just basketball, but that's how we grew up.
And then when you think of it too, the extension of going to a school like Vancouver College, where athletics is just taken so seriously.
Hmm.
I'm guessing there was no choice. Mom and dad sent you there, right? But
The
just
thing
the
is, like
go ahead.
looking back,
Mm,
we weren't going to go to VC, which is like now looking at it, it was like it seems like it was always a no-brainer, but
yeah.
we were Richmond Elementary, and at the time my dad was working at the post office. My mom was like a stay-home mom, and then she wanted be so like we were just or she had some job. She probably wouldn't want me saying that, but but she she yeah. So we were just gonna go to like McNair, which is like
Yeah.
shout out Josh Masters.
Hey.
We were just gonna go to McNair or maybe like Richmond High because like Eberhard or something, like try to go to a basketball school. But
Yeah.
we were just gonna go to public school up until grades like when I was in probably like grade 5, 6. My mom started like her teacher degree and stuff like that, and then she went back to school. So she got a job at VC when I was in grade 6 or 7, and then it
Hmm.
was okay, we're going to VC.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that like, and then we went to VC, our cousins went to VC. So it seemed like it was always the plan, but it really wasn't.
Well, I mean, and it's not like it's just you, right? Like there's three, so it's like when you do the math times three, it's like,
Yeah,
man, we're just grinding. Most people are grinding, check to check with a little vacation here and there, right? So the reality
100%,
is, it's not
100%.
something that's been able to be pulled off, and super dope. Like your mom willing to sacrifice. I'm going to be a mom, take care of these boys, and then when the time is right, to continue for herself and her own personal growth to get a teaching degree. And like I think that says a lot about kind of the example that was set to you, right? It was to continue to keep working and not be satisfied. And she knows, okay, well, these boys are getting older, like not just going to sit at home for the next 30 years of my life. I want to get a job and career and
No,
be myself.
100%.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
my mom has 3 degrees
Hell yeah.
in
Yeah.
teaching and counseling full time, 2 full-time jobs.
Do you ever feel like you're sitting at the dinner table and she's counseling you, or what's the conversation there? You're like, Mom, get off me.
No,
Like,
no,
she
she
knows
she doesn't
better.
really give that, but I can see why she's a great counselor, and she
Sure.
loves to talk and give advice, and yeah. And I think
So
like as we get older, she's gonna like slowly, like now she's counseling a VC, she's probably gonna slowly just transition into like more counseling so she can
yeah,
come out to the Philippines a little more and stuff like that.
nice.
But I mean, her getting a job at VC is like changed everything for us. So
Yeah. And then talk about that. Like you guys, all boys school, like so much tradition and history there, so much pride in athletics, like we talked about, and academics. Like, let's not get it twisted. Kind of anything extracurricular. I'm sure you like even the music kids. Like here, we just had 5 buses of music kids go on a retreat for the weekend. Like, just talk about going from what possibly, and no knock on what would have been a public school in Richmond, but going to a place like VC where it's kind of like it's on a whole nother level. Like
hmm
really, even from our school, it's like a whole nother level. So
hmm
was it intimidating a little bit? Is like, oh, I got to take religion class, I got to throw the tie on, like the expectations change, or did that, talk about that a bit?
yeah. I mean, yeah, like it was definitely intimidating, and it's like it was a massive culture shock going from like 100 kid elementary school in Richmond to a private school in Vancouver. Massive like culture shock, totally different. But I mean, like even though I said we weren't always going to go to VC, like even like since we are like babies, we were going to VC games and like we're going to the gym and we're working out at VC. So it was always like it wasn't super new to us. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was a massive change, and now we're wearing uniforms and like now we're studying religion, and now it's like all guys, which is so different.
Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
VC, like it just a lot of energy, crazy
Yeah.
environment, grade eight,
Mhm.
just everyone's meeting each other for the first time. I mean, football was a massive help because football starts in like the summer. So you
Yeah.
go into like the school year knowing like 80 kids,
Yeah.
which is huge. And that's like the culture that has been created there. But massive culture shock. But I love VC, and what VC does is it gives you, I mean, it puts you like in an environment of everyone's kind of working hard, and if you want to train in basketball, like if you want to train in football, if you want a strength coach, like yeah, academic, it's just a really good environment.
Hmm.
Gives you great alumni friends, which is what we touched on at the start, like Gerald Waterhouse. Those guys are all like VC guys that are I'm still tight with as my dad's friends. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's been huge, and I'm still always around. Like I was there this morning, like
Yeah. I saw
VC.
you were talking with the varsity too, like a little bit of mentorship, sort of sharing your story too, which is dope, man. And that's good, like that pay it forward. And it's one thing I love about here is just that sense of community, right? And just like if you need something, there's a whole bunch of people that are there for you. Or when you graduate, if you don't know what you want to do or you get your degree, like, Zim's the director of alumni, like hit him up. He probably knows a bunch of people that are in the field that you want to get into, right? And that
100%.
those are the things that separate it. And I'm sure as a family, at times probably overwhelming. You felt that a lot when your dad was sick and then unfortunately ended up passing away. But just that pillow to fall back on of like, okay, we have our direct family, but also Vancouver College, just the school itself. You really realize because you say it and you think it, and you're like, well, this is a good place. But then you go through something as hard as you guys do, and in your middle of your high school years, you go, wow, this is actually like a community, and they are an extended family.
100%. And yeah, when we were going through all that stuff with my dad, like the support system that we got from VC and the community is, unmatched.
Hmm.
I'm always grateful for.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And not to be like too dark, I'm just interested, like as a grade 10 boy, finding out your dad's sick, he's battling, I mean, one thing nobody could ever say about your dad is he wasn't like a scrapper and a fighter, and he'd never, and, he's always willing to give it all, no matter what it was. We're getting into marathon running, playing hoops. It didn't matter, right? Like he went after it. And so he attacked his health as well when he got ill, but just such a vulnerable time. You're like 15, 16 years old, trying to fit in. Grade 10's a tough year, I find. It's kind of like not quite a senior yet, but I'm not
yeah,
a fuzzy little grade 8, 9. And then all this comes about. Like, just how did that go for you? And talk about trying to navigate that as a family and how you went through that.
yeah.
It's a big part of your story.
No, 100%. And
Yeah.
it's something I don't talk about too much, but
Mm,
I'll get into it for sure.
mm,
Um, yeah, I mean, it was like a 1 year journey of like him getting cancer and then to passing away.
mm,
So it's like, yeah, grade 10. It was mainly through grade 10 and then September of grade 11. So like start of grade 11. So yeah, it was weird because like it's the start of grade 11, and like, and VC, it's not like, I mean, everyone knows what's happening in your situation, which is, it's a blessing in terms of like their support and stuff. But yeah, it is kind of awkward. Like when you're sitting in class and like they're talking about on like the announcements, what I mean? Stuff like
mm,
that. But like I said, basketball was something to lean on, which
mm,
is like, I couldn't have asked for anything better. Like if I didn't have basketball to just like go all in on, because basketball, like it's where I felt most connected to, everything, and where I just felt like it gave me purpose, and it would, and it's not just for me, it's me and my brothers, my family, like it just, we kind of all just leaned on basketball, honestly. Um, and that's kind of what helped it. But yeah, like I said, I've touched on it. We had a great support system. Um, Gerald, like that whole crew of guys, and from Drive, that whole crew. I mean, we started doing like the around that time was when we first had the JD charity tournament.
Yep.
Because it started in support for us. Like we still do it now, but it started in support for our family. And it's actually like the day of the tournament was probably the first tournament was probably like in August of 2016. And I remember we're like in the hospital room day of the tournament, and and then Steve Nash walks in, and just, that was a super cool experience that he came to the first tournament, and it gave it that excitement. Which, it's a basketball tournament where hundreds, maybe probably 1,000 people showed up to the first one, where everyone's supporting and stuff like that. So I definitely, as I get older, I recognize that like not everyone gets that support when they're going through something like that. So, it was a unique part of our story. And then, that tournament has also kept us connected because kept his legacy alive, kept his name alive. We still do it now. We keep it a little more low key because it's connected now to like the VC alumni tournament. So, but it's still every year we donate like 5 to 10 grand to like a family that's going through the same thing, which is, amazing. And a lot of people help out in it now. Like the VC Alumni Association does a massive help in getting it together and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a testament to who he was and who he still is, because he's still super prominent in everything we're doing, which is crazy.
What can we say about the people at Parkside, especially our guy, Sam Payne? A huge supporter of basketball in our community. The gentleman does many things behind the scenes that people don't know about. And one of those is supporting our podcast from literally day one. Sam reached out to us and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. How do we get involved?" And what you can do is find them at any local government store, or come down to the brewery, sit on the patio, sit in the back, listen to the music, come for music trivia night, whatever it is. The wide variety of beer that they offer is second to none. And Port Moody in the Brewers Row is a great place to be. We are so appreciative of Parkside Brewery, we can't even say it in enough words. Head down. We hope to see you Parkside. And if you can't, find a way to support, because they do a lot for us. Cheers.
You touched on one thing that I think is really beautiful is that basketball. Like, there's really nothing better than just an empty gym and you and a hoop, right? And being a kid, kind of lost, and I'm sure you had so much support, but just being able to step into a gym and get some J's up and just clear your mind, right? Do you still find that that's a thing for you?
100%. It's like meditation,
Mm-hmm.
You can do, all the training sessions and stuff like that. But like sometimes like I just go in the gym by myself late at night with headphones and just like ball for like, hours. And that's why basketball is so important. And that's why this Hoop Journey podcast exists, because everyone has stories like that of where like basketball's meant so much more to them than just like a game.
Church on a Friday. Let's go. I love it. That's poetic, man. That's poetic. Yeah, he ties in the podcast.
Bars.
Straight up bars. Freestyle Fridays. Let's go. So true. Okay, so basketball's your thing. Grade 11, 12, amazing years. Top teams, elite scorer, long, athletic, can defend, play both ways, slasher, like just, I don't want to say old school game, but very smooth and like very nice game. Talk about that recruiting process, when you thought, I want to go post-secondary, and how you came to the decision to go to UBC. Because that's part for me I've never really talked to you about, and I'm intrigued. One of my good friends, Eric Heinrichsen, played at UVic. His son is at Spectrum, Justin, and he just committed to UVic, and was chatting with him a little bit because he was a national champ and player of the year and stuff, and kind of just his son was really intrigued on sort of, everyone just assumed he was going to go to UVic because his dad played there. But he actually was really open-minded to like, I want to carve my own path. So talk about your own personal experience with that, and like knowing there's a lineage even past your dad, like the Dumont name itself, right? Like there's a lot of hoop lineage there, right? And so how you came to that decision, really intrigued about.
Yeah, so I mean, the first school to show the most interest in me was SFU.
Okay.
So they, after my grade 11 season,
Who's there? Is that Steve? Or is
yeah,
it Bert?
Steve and Shook.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Shooky,
so Shook was with me at SFU and UBC.
Hey.
Shook. But I mean, yeah, they gave me the first like kind of big opportunity, offering me like a full scholarship after my grade 11 season,
Damn.
which was like, you know, a massive thing for me at the time. And so that, you know, that really kicked off the recruiting process for me. And so like I did a visit there and stuff like that. And I was super intrigued by SFU because, you know, it was a really good opportunity and it was something different. And I think the thing that stopped me is because like with NCAA, it's a little different. And like there's like only certain times where you can like sign and stuff like that. So they basically just like wanted me to sign like early signing period. So like kind of like before my senior year, which, you know, fair enough, obviously. And they basically just said like, you have this offer, but like, if you don't take it, then like potentially, you know, you could still come here, but it's the offer is not going to stand. So but I did want to play out my senior year, of course. So yeah, I was grateful for that, but I played my senior year. And then I mean, I always like had UBC in mind, but the other school that like I was closest to going to was Calgary.
Okay.
Like Matt Skin was the assistant at the time who like I was in communication with the most, like came to a couple VC practices. I went on a visit
program,
there too,
good
like in my
school.
senior year.
Calgary's a dope little city too.
No, 100%.
Yeah,
It would have been something different. And and in my senior year is when they won the championship.
Right. Okay.
So like it had a lot of excitement to it. And Van Horn's like a great coach there too. They got a great program. But then, you know, throughout my senior years when I started talking more with Kev and UBC, and I mean UBC just always excited me. I don't know if I always like felt like I thought I was going to go to UBC because I really was close to going to Calgary, but you know, Kev would come to my games. Like he would come to my games this senior year. He, you know, would come to Saint Series, which is, you know, best rivalry in BC.
Yep.
And, you know, so he was always around in that sense. And, you know, I was talking to Kev more and I knew some of the guys on the team. And, you know, I grew up going to UBC games, stuff like that. So basically, you know, I talked to Kev and I talked with Calgary more, and it wasn't until after my senior year that I committed to UBC. And like, yeah, that was, you know, I was happy with that decision. You know, UBC is unmatched. Like pretty much every kid in BC high school wants to go to UBC. And so, yeah, that's kind of like how the process went.
And then, I mean, I'm assuming because you got your degree done pretty quick, right?
I mean, not pretty quick. Like it was 5 years, but I only played 3 years at UBC because I redshirted my first year and there was a COVID season.
So was academics like, was that a thing for you? Like you commit there, obviously knowing what comes with UBC is a very high academic standard too, right? Did you have any clue what you wanted to do school wise or?
Yeah. I mean, and this also ties back to VC where like they like make you do these things in terms of like applications,
whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, the only schools I think I actually like did the actual application process for was UBC and Calgary because I knew those were probably where I was going to go to either those schools. So like, I just actually applied just like myself into the school. And for both of them, I applied for business because I was, you know, I knew I wanted to go to business school and stuff like that. So like I got into Sauder like on my own outside of UBC. And so when I went to UBC, it was, you know, it was right there.
Sauder, no joke, man. Don't even pass over on that. That's legit. Like,
yeah.
So then talk about that.
Intense.
Hey?
It's intense. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
Early years. Like I remember my first year, there's a class where it's like Commerce 101 or something. There's a class where like there's like a little camera on like every desk, and like when you answer a question, you gotta like it goes on like the jumbotron.
No way. Like
yeah,
face?
like in school. Yeah, face. Like it's stuff like that. So
That
It's
would not
no
make me
joke.
want to answer anything. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I'd
no, it
be
was
like, I'm good.
intimidating. Yeah.
And then, so yeah, so let's talk about that redshirting COVID, like an interesting time to, and we've had a few guests that have gone through that time as well, making that jump, like very unique. So how do you stay focused? How do you kind of process all that? Like, what's the mental side like, working through all those things?
Yeah, I mean, going to TBC, I didn't know if I was going to redshirt or not, but I was redshirting. I think like every kid should redshirt. I went in
Oh,
as a 17-year-old,
yeah.
um, and at the university level, especially since I've played university for so long, like it's you wanna have your years when you're older. So redshirting, it was a fun year, and it was one of the best years for my development. That's when we had like Menroop and Jaden come to the team, who are like my big bros. And it's funny, like in my redshirt year is like when I was just the most like some of my most like intense times in practice. I would just go in like 1,000, like going 100% on like scout team and stuff like that, and like
So
trying to
fun.
go at like going at their heads. But now that I'm like
Pissing
now
them
that I was
off.
like a veteran like myself, I
Like,
remember like
yo, young buck, stop trying so
even
hard,
yeah,
man.
even
Yeah.
like this year, like in scout team, I'm like, and like the young guys are like going so hard. It's like, yo, chill. Like we just, we're playing 30 minutes a night, like chill
Yeah.
out. But like those were like some of the most fun times like I've had in practice, like redshirting and like playing with those like the guys I was playing with, like Grant Audu, and like, like I went in with Lincoln, Jonah, like Cam Morris actually. Like
Yeah.
Cam we're always like on the same team in practice and stuff like that. So that was, it was a good start to the UBC run. And then
I
my
love
first year is when like
I don't
we
want to cut you off for a
further.
sec. I love your perspective on the red shirting thing. So I think it's such a mental thing. And I think Cam struggled with that a little bit because I think he wanted to be on the roster, right? And
Mhm.
couldn't wrap his head around sort of accepting the red shirting and making the best of it. And you're saying, like, hey, I think everybody should red shirt, right? Like, I think it's a good thing, especially when you get 5 years. When you think about the difference
100%.
between you're 17, turning 18, and someone on your team's like 23, 4, maybe 25, like,
Yeah,
seems like U Sports getting older and older too, right? So that
100%.
I just love,
University's getting
yeah.
older.
I just
Yeah,
think
I
it's an
mean,
interesting perspective. I think a lot of people look at it as a negative, and you're flipping that and going, no, I'm going to go hard. I'm going to train. I'm going to accept my role in practice, be a little dickhead and run around and guard and shoot when I can and want. Because Kev's like,
100%.
this is so and so from this team. Shoot whenever you want. Like, sweet, So
100%.
it's
That
total
was
flip of mindset there.
no. And it's funny, like even in the Philippines this year, like I like he didn't end up doing it, but that's what I was telling I was telling one of the rookies. I was like, you got a red shirt. But like, yeah, there is maybe like a stigma around it, or I guess, but
Yeah,
like he didn't want to and stuff. But yeah, it's like you can either play try to play with the main starting group, and at the end of the day, university is like we're going 7, 8 guys in like big games. So like unless you think you're cracking that, like and if you want to go to a top program,
yeah,
um versus so like always being frustrated in that sense versus like getting every single rep in practice against the starters,
mm,
which is it just and then getting 5 years and not wasting a year.
yeah.
So yeah, like I think it's everyone should do it.
It's very mature and very like forward thinking. And I think at our age, when we're that young, we're selfish, right? We thinking about ourselves, and like to be able to have that foresight, I think says a lot about your maturity and your ability to process things, which is super dope. Yeah. And then jump into that first year.
Yeah, I mean, first year was good. Like I mean, it's the furthest I had a team go with UBC. We went to the national semis.
Hmm.
And then yeah, having Jada and Rube like as vets was super, super important and super good for my growth because I played pretty good minutes my rookie year, and I kind of would just come in as we didn't really have a point guard too because like that's when Mason like left.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like Jaden, Roop, and stuff like that. So I would just come in as like a point guard and just be aggressive and stuff like that. So it was a really good year for my development and won Canada West. Yeah, going to nationals,
Yeah.
great experiences.
Where were
Um,
those Nats?
Ottawa.
It was Ottawa. Yeah.
The first one was like in Dalhousie, wherever Dalhousie is. But that's like when I was redshirting. But then like Ottawa is where we actually played.
Yeah. Oh man, you're not that old. You're supposed to remember these things fairly quickly.
But yeah, so I mean, like national semis, like that's a great experience.
As you know, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new sponsor on the show, Mountain West Roofing, and we wanted to give a huge shout out to them. Their website is mwroofing.ca. And they just, where do I begin? Mike Allan, a huge basketball guy in the community, a former provincial champion, played at Pitt Meadows High School, grew up loving the game, big sneakerhead, so we connect on that. One of the co-owners, along with Jeff Boyer, just good guys in the community. And don't forget, if you mention Aaron Mitchell or the podcast, you may get a special treatment for price and whatever else. I make no promises, but they have said if you mention the Hoops Journey podcast, and this is where you heard their advertisement, that they'll take care of you. And I can tell you, they came to our house, man, within a day. We had an estimate. Within a day and a half, we had someone on our roof getting it fixed, and it was good to go. So big shout out to those guys. We appreciate you, and reach out if you need anything from them. Again, that's Mountain West Roofing Inc. Reach out to Mike and Jeff, and they'll take care of you. Thanks to our sponsor.
For sure. And so this is where the story gets pretty unique and pretty interesting and really fun. It's sort of like, when do we start to think about where we are now, and when does that process start to happen? Is there still a plan, or did this come out of nowhere? Was it always part of the plan, you know?
Like in terms of like Philippines, I want to play pro and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's always been like something I'd say, like, yeah, I want to play in the Philippines one day, stuff like that. But like it's after redshirt first year and then COVID. So that's just like just weirdest year, right? No training with masks, stuff like that. And then I had a season at UBC. We had a lot of talent. Okay season in the sense of like, both those last 2 years, we probably had more talent than, what we finished with. But in the year after COVID, I was, kind of back and forth starting with Kyle. And then so after that year is when I went to the Philippines for the first time. And then so that I went to the Philippines for the first time since I was born there, because I was born there. I went there, and like the goal was kind of see the Philippines, meet as many people in the basketball world, try to experience stuff through just like connections and sending some tape and whoever I knew. Like I got into 2 PBA practices. One of them was like, because Tay was playing there at the time, like Taylor Brown, he was playing for one of the teams. Yep. So I went to that practice. I went to another PBA practice. Like I felt good, felt like I could hang, like got a, totally different vibes too, in terms of the gyms we're playing in, the people, it was my first time seeing like that whole world. I met with a couple like basketball agents just through like connections I had. And then one of the agents was like, he was just like, "Oh, have you ever been to like a college game?" And I said, "No." Like, I remember like in high school, some of the college teams were like reaching out to me and stuff, but it just felt like so like far away. Like it just didn't even feel like it was an option, or I just knew no clue. Like I didn't know anything about the university league out there. Then they were like, "Yo, like because it was like COVID and stuff, because there was COVID and stuff, like the season was in the spring where it's usually, in like winter and stuff." So they were like, "Oh, college finals is going on." So that's when I was like, okay, like, yeah, get me tickets. And they got me, it was me, Hunter, and my uncle Graham, who like shout out Graham. He like a insanely massive part in like me going to the Philippines in terms of like all the back end stuff. But me, Hunter, Graham went to the University Philippines finals, and yeah, like I walked in the gym and I was just like so in shock when I went, because it was like 20 something thousand fans at a university game, like insane environment. And that was like my first taste of it. And then basically people were just saying, like, if you have an opportunity to play in the university league, like that's the best Like that's the best thing you could do for your pro career if that's like the path you want to take. So
Why is that the best thing you can do?
basically, I mean, first it gives you a sense of the league and the world, and they can kind of compare you to, like, they want to see it in front of your eyes. Like I just said, like they don't, they know about Division 1, right? They know
Mm,
about, high level stuff, but they definitely don't know about Canada. They
sure.
definitely don't know how good U Sports is. And like they just won't, they won't respect as much as like doing it in front of their faces type of thing.
Right.
And you also, with all the fans and the environment, like you build a bit of a fan base, you build a bit of a name in the world. Like at the end of the day, basketball world in Vancouver and Canada's small. Like same with the Philippines. Like it's
Yeah.
millions of people, but it's all Manila, and like I said, everyone's tuned in. So
You brand yourself, which you're already doing. We'll get into
yeah,
it a little
that's
bit.
so
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
that's that's the value in it. So basically, that was before my third year at UBC, but also like I knew I was graduating,
Hmm.
so I didn't know for sure that I was gonna go, just because in my mind it was always I'm gonna play throughout at UBC.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't make the decision really till after the season, but it was in my mind, like, and yeah, it was in my mind, and like I knew, like I knew about the world, and I knew that opportunity is out there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Have you ever thought about if you didn't hop on the plane and just sort of go, like how things would have worked out?
And I really
Yeah.
don't think like that.
Yeah.
I really don't think like that. I mean, it was hard because, there were more things I wanted to do at UBC.
Sure.
I mean, this year they're hosting, and I still would be technically playing, like if I did, but
Wow. Feels like you've been over
I
there
don't,
longer than that, man.
what's that?
It feels like you've been over there longer than that, but
No,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I just looked at it like this is the best, opportunity for my future. And um, I did want change. Like I wanted to, even though I only played 3 years, I was there for 5, and I felt like, I needed to be in a new environment to, evolve and continue to grow as a player. So yeah, that's when I made the move.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's just so unique. It's one of the things I really want to touch on because it's like, I just love that we're in a place right now where there's options like this,
Hmm.
because not long ago it would have been like grind out your 5 years, try to get a passport, or maybe then go to the Philippines after. And then, like you say, you got to prove who you are. You maybe player in a smaller league, which is a little shadier. Maybe the money's not as good, like da 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 da. Right now we're in a place where it's like, no, I've done my business. It's a hard decision. It's not an easy thing, but this is what's best for me. And that option actually is there. I think is really, really, really dope. And I think it's amazing, especially for you being, Filipino, Canadian, whatever we want to call you. It's like a message to all the ballers that are here in BC, as we talked about. There's so many just like you with the same lineage, and that option is there. I think is really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I have a lot of like local Filipino BC university hoopers, like, asking me
Hmm.
about it. And it's it's a path that like the states have known about for a long time. Like
Mm.
Philams, every team has a couple like Philams, they call it. Like I'm technically a Philam,
Okay.
but Canada just didn't really know about it. Like there was one other Canadian coming from U Sports in the league, this guy
Yeah.
PJ, who played at like Winnipeg.
Okay.
But the states, like they've always known about this path. I mean, in the last 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
I think in the next 10 years, like there's going to be more like Canadians doing it. And that's why, but also I tell them like, go to U Sports first.
Mm.
Like from what I've seen, it's a lot harder to go to the Philippines university, like as a high school kid, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're treated like a high school kid,
Yeah.
and you're just a high school kid against local high school kids. And like, then you got to go through the whole 5 year grind of university out there,
Hmm.
and moving across the world as a 17-year-old, like is a lot more intense. So I just tell them like, if that's a path that you want, like graduate as soon as you can from like a U Sport team, and play as long as you need to there, and then make the jump as like a veteran.
Yeah, nice. And I think it's, again, dope that you're like mentoring people through this. It's awesome, man, and sharing your own experience. And end of the day, people got to make their own choices, but that's super cool. So what is life like over there for a university student? Are you in residence? Do you get an apartment? Like, give us some insights before we find out what kind of chips you like about, like, just give us some insight about things that are different or maybe people wouldn't expect over there as compared to here. You're half smirking, so you got to have something.
It's just so different because
Like, where do I begin, man? Like, frick, how much time do we have? Yeah.
The setup that we had was, we honestly got lucky because like the place I was going to, like they wanted to kind of like, boost up their program a little bit, like, and invested a little bit and the players and stuff like that. So I was in like a studio apartment. In this, like, so was Hunter, and this year, Cole joined us.
Yeah.
So we all had like studio apartments in like the same building, which was, super dope.
How fun is that, right?
Yeah. It's an experience. Like, I don't know when we'll have that again. So yeah, we all had our own studio apartments in the same building. There's like 4 other Phil-Ams that were also in the same building, and they like kind of share. They had like a bigger apartment that they shared. Mm-hmm. So that's the life. It's the day to day. Like, the Philippines is no joke in the sense of practices are long, like 4 or 5 hour practices every day.
What?
Yeah, like they just do things differently out there.
Like drilling the whole time, or like you throwing in skills too, like just covering everything?
It's different where like there is like more breaks. Like you'll sit for like 30 minutes, like if the other team's doing scout team or something. But it's long. Like, basketball there is just a little different. It's a little more chaotic, faster pace, way more aggressive, like way more fouls.
Yeah.
The Philippines.
Yeah.
But
how many teams are in these leagues? Like, what's the schedule like? Do you have to travel a lot? Is it all local?
Yeah, so the first year I went, like we got there in June, and you basically just they go all year round. Like we went there in June, but they started like in February, which I did this past season. But you're just playing in local tournaments. Like there's tournaments where like teams from this university league, a couple pro teams will be in this tournament. You play that whole tournament, though, like a couple 2-month span. So like you'll have like 1 or 2 games a week for like a 2-month span.
Yeah.
Some that I did this past season in the preseason was like a 3-on-3 tournament where every team puts in a 3-on-3 team and you play in the mall, which was crazy. It's like, 5-level mall of like everyone around, and it's like a 3-on-3 tournament in the mall, which they do something like that. We went to Taiwan.
What's the depth perception shooting in a mall like?
It's different.
Yeah, it's one way to put it. Yeah,
but it's just funny, it's like you're playing in a mall in the Philippines, and like it's packed. It's just like a lot of just different, really cool basketball experiences, though. We go to Taiwan for a tournament in the preseason. You're just traveling around like Asia. Like most teams go to like Japan, or you'll go to, some teams go to Australia because it's right there. Yeah. It's basically, they just go like, it's just like a whole year round thing. And then the season's like only like 2 months, but at the end of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a whole year thing. Basically from February to December, you're like with the team every day, doing something, either practice or you're going here for a game, or you're in a big stadium, or you're in like a random gym, no AC, like 40 degrees, like people are slipping, like you can barely breathe. Like you just go through pretty much every situation.
Yeah. It's almost like it's semi-pro, really, realistically, right? They just set you up.
Everyone's getting paid.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it is. But
so is the university just a label? Like, is it like, it is
university. Like guys are like, most guys are going to school, and but the culture is university. Sponsors and stuff like that, even like look at university players more, because when you think of it, the university teams have just like years and years of alumni and
Sure.
their current students all tuned in versus at the pro level, it's like every team is just backed by like a business. So there's not
Yeah.
as much yeah, so some of the top teams, there's a lot of history and stories and fan bases, but like the new teams that pop up, if you're like a random business starting like a pro team, it's not, you don't have that same history to it. So it's just, yeah, it's wild.
If you're a basketball player out there in the lower mainland or BC in general, and you're looking for somewhere to play, we have a proud sponsor, and that is PGC Hoops. You can find them at pgchoops.ca. And the thing that makes them unique and that we're proud to sponsor them and them be a sponsor of us is it's a true nonprofit basketball organization found in the east side of Vancouver. The mission is cost-effective elite basketball for all. Find the website, take a look, register your kids, register yourself, look for the programs. And if you have any questions, reach out to me and we can contact you with the right people. This is a good program for the right reasons. We appreciate you, PGC Basketball.
Also heard interesting stories about Glenn Yang touched a little bit on the Philippines and kind of like some of the stuff that can happen behind the scenes, but you're still in it, so we don't want you to say too much.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing in it. He's playing in the PBA right now.
Yeah, he's back, right? Yeah.
It looks like he's killing, actually.
Yeah.
Him and like Chris, what's the guy like from
McLaughlin?
Yeah.
He's
their import, because it looks like now in the PBA, in at least one of the conferences, they've added like a Hong Kong team.
Yep.
So looks like they've been doing really well, actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Chris is a large human. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dope. Well, okay, let's get into some fun questions, man. I mean, you've still got so much basketball ahead of you, and it's going to be great to follow your journey. I feel like at some point we'll have to do like a brothers episode, or we'll just do part 2 with you when you're old and grumpy. You're still young, youthful, and happy. So
100%.
Yeah. Okay, man, dead or alive, what concert are we going to? Best seat in the house. Could have seen them before. Maybe want to see them again, or haven't seen them at all. What do you got? What's on the list?
Yeah, I saw that question. I mean, when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking more like just experience in the show.
Okay.
I've been to Drake. Like I do want to go to like a Kanye concert. I'm a big fan of Kanye.
Been 3 times.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, it's unreal. Saw him and Jay-Z and then saw him by himself twice.
Okay. So yeah, I do a Kanye. I'm thinking like, I don't listen to him too much, but I'd probably want to go to like a Michael Jackson concert. I feel like that would have been crazy back in the day. And then same thing, I don't listen to them too much, but like a Coldplay concert, just because they do concerts, right? You know what I mean?
You know who's a big advocate for Coldplay? Dom Zimmerman is a big advocate.
I'm sure that sounds like it.
Apparently their shows are unreal.
Yeah. So just for the show.
Good picks. Okay, so if you are shooting on your own, you got the beats on and you're getting some jumpers up, what's in the rotation maybe right now?
I mean, I listen to pretty much everything.
Yeah?
This past year. Yeah, like, I mean, this past year, it depends on like, the vibe you're in.
Sure. Yeah.
I've been listening to, I don't know, like I said, a lot of Kanye. I like Kid Cudi a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of Kid Cudi. Thames. I've been running a lot of Thames.
Saw her in September.
Just like more for the vibe. You know what I mean?
She's dope, man. She's so dope. Yeah.
Juice World. I don't know. Like whatever vibe I'm in.
Yeah. That's fair. Good pulls.
Not bad.
Okay. You're not in the Philippines. You're home. What is it? Kitty corner to you? The Chevron? Is there a Chevron for you guys?
There's a Chevron right there.
Okay, your little munchie. We're gonna throw on a Netflix or maybe watch NFL on Sunday. What bag of chips are you getting?
I feel like a lot of people have said this, but like that blue bag Miss Bix.
It's your episode, man. Yeah, sour cream and
sour cream and some like a sweet chili sour cream. I think it is.
Yeah.
Sweet chili heat Doritos, maybe.
Okay, so like a little bit of the, we're not afraid to possibly burn the roof of the mouth.
Maybe some cool ranch Doritos, something like that.
Okay, It's fair. They got anything random in the Philippines chip wise that's good or no? Like what's the go-to when you're over there when you're hungry that's like a local thing that maybe you couldn't get here? I mean, let's pretend like you couldn't get it here. Like someone could probably make it for you here, but if you want something good, what's the spot?
It's funny because the Philippines, it's not like, I mean, I do eat like Filipino food and stuff, but
Yep.
it's so Americanized.
Okay.
Where it's like, I'm talking to like Woods and Lincoln and Portugal, and they're in like, some random place in Portugal, and where they only have like local stuff. Like our condo was right beside like one of the mega malls that pretty much has any place ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, what we're eating, and not just snacks, what we're eating a lot was like, stuff like Korean barbecue.
Hey.
That's a big go-to in the Philippines because it's so cheap too. Like most of our meals are like, we're trying to eat between like $5 to $10, which is not like it is here.
Not Vancouver,
but like Korean
which is not like it is here. That's putting it one way. Damn.
No. So like unlimited Korean barbecue is probably like the most go-to.
Nice. Okay. What do we got? Let's go. Okay. Dinner for 4. Who are the 3 other guests you're having? Korean barbecue.
I mean, probably just my brothers and my cousins, to be honest.
Okay. Let's say no family.
No family.
Like Kanye, Malcolm X, and Jay-Z. I don't know. Who comes to mind when you get a chance? No, I'm not letting you bail out.
I could say Nash, but I feel like that's just too classic.
Why?
Well, I mean, Steve Nash, but yeah, like
he's
Steve
amazing.
Nash,
couple beers, some conversation. Okay, good.
Yeah.
1, 2 more. Who's intriguing to you? Who's someone, a podcast you listen to, a celebrity you'd be like, man, I'd like to pick this person's brain or have a good night out with this person. Who's out there?
I mean, pick his brain. Maybe someone like Mark Cuban or something.
Hey, there we go.
You know what I mean? Like a sports owner or something like that.
Yeah.
And then probably an art. I'm thinking maybe someone like, I don't know, someone like Elon, like someone like just totally different, where just has, a different thought process.
Different take on everything. I like that. Okay, good. There you go. All right. Books or movies?
Probably shows.
Okay.
TV shows. Have you seen Friday Night Lights?
Yeah, of course.
Like the show?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so I have a funny story about that because I mean that's my favorite show for sure.
Okay.
And then so like Tim Riggins.
Yep.
Like the best character type thing. So me, my brothers, and my cousins, like over the break, we went to like Soho in Yaletown to like just play pool one night.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, he's there playing pool, which was pretty dope. Yeah, because he's a Vancouver guy, or he's from like Coquitlam or something.
Okay.
So it was dope. Just we went up to him, like chopped it up with him a little bit. But yeah, Friday Night Lights is definitely like my favorite show.
Was he a good dude?
Yeah, no, good dude. We said it's classic that like, in the show he's like the football player that like would be at a pool thing drinking beers type of thing. So we said it was like, we're in the show. It felt like we're like in the show.
Practicing
no,
character.
That was cool. That was cool.
Nice. Awesome. Anything else? Have you watched something recently that you'd recommend to the listeners?
I mean, I don't know why I didn't watch it till this year, but Breaking Bad I watched this year.
Okay.
I don't know why I waited till this year. Like,
you're not the only one. So I think I have to watch it on my own because like we always get to like episode 3 and my wife's like, and I'm like, okay, I think that I just got to, because everybody says it, right?
Yeah. I always heard it too. But I mean, this year like is when I actually watched it, and I think it's just like definitely one of the most well-written shows too. It's just dope. It's like, I mean, you being a teacher too.
Yeah, man.
You probably like it. Like, chemistry teacher turned like meth, like
badass.
Empire badass.
Who have been some of the most important people in your life up to this point?
I mean, I gotta say my parents.
Mm-hmm.
My dad. We talked about my dad a lot. I mean, my mom too, in the sense of like single mom raising 3 boys, multiple jobs, stuff. She's a beast. So I gotta show some love. Shout out Tricks.
Yep.
But I mean, I gotta say Nash too, and just the sense of like growing up, it was like Nash is on the TV. My dad's telling stories because they were boys.
Yeah.
That's it was like basketball was like Steve Nash going at Kobe. Like that's like the childhood growing up. And just him being from here, him being like a small guard. There's no one else that like you could compare yourself to kind of other than Nash. So he paved the way. He's, my favorite player ever. Shout out Nash.
Love that, man. Dope. Such a good episode. I'm, so glad we were able to find this time to connect. When Gerald was like meeting up with the boys, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna reach out. I can finally get him. So I really do appreciate your time. Last question for you though, and don't put anybody on blast that is gonna be like, yo, man, I'm not a podcast guy, but who's out there that's got a good story? Could be all over the place. Anybody that we should chop it up with and let them share their story on this platform.
I mean, it's funny you said that because this is the guy that would say that. Like, I'd probably say James.
Sorry, I was laughing.
Well, when you said like he'd be like, "Oh, I'm not a podcast guy," like I'd say James Woods.
Yeah,
I played with him from we're on the first drive U10 team, and then we played all the way up to UBC together. So, and he's doing well in Portugal right now.
Nice.
He's been hooping. Would he respond? I don't know, but
hey,
but maybe try to get Woods.
Shoot your shot. This is on you though. You're the plug.
Yeah, I'll try to get Woods.
Okay, you let him know. Just ask. No pressure, man. It's not for everyone. Get it.
And then maybe Grant Audu.
Yeah. Okay.
I still talk to him a lot. He from Toronto, came to UBC, had a great run. And then he just played on the national 3-on-3 team.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So
a lot of people shared his story, and that made me think, because I've never met the man or whatever. So when I see that, I'm like, yo, this must be a good cat, because so many people were so proud to see him do that. So I think that speaks
100%.
volumes. I mean, not that social media and everything, but when you see something like that where people are actually genuinely happy for someone, is this must be a good dude. Yeah.
No, he's a great guy. I mean, I'm seeing him on Saturday. I will mention this pod to him.
Yeah.
And tell him that I said you're going on it. So
there we go.
Because he's in Van, coaching and stuff like that now. So
yeah. Awesome. You sound a little more confident in Woods, but either way, those two good upcoming guests that sound like shoot your shot, man. Let me know what they say. Listen, continued success. I was really looking forward to this for many reasons. Connections through your lineage with your mom and your dad, great people. All the people that are, still your friends. There's so many lines crossing, but also you're such a unique journey. And the things that you've shared today, I know that there are going to be a lot of people that listen and will love to hear because they've known you for so long, but it may be some new listeners that will go, oh, that's an option. Oh, I can do this. Wow, that's super dope. And then we'll kind of maybe tap in and you've started to brand yourself, the things you're doing. I see you're doing so cool, such an opportunity, and you're taking advantage of it all. So continued success, man. Last thoughts, ideas, reflections before you go and enjoy your rainy afternoon here?
No, man, I'm glad we finally did this. This is dope. I've tuned into a bunch of these, like you said, maybe, some people will tune into this and have some thoughts like that. So, I'm excited because I'm keep going on my hoop journey. I feel like I still got a long way to go, and I'm excited. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, me too, man. And however things unfold, you know that you got a bunch of homies and friends and family that'll be supporting from afar, right? So you keep doing your thing, and you know what? If you need a new agent, maybe just reach out to me. I could quit teaching, and I look good.
Not a bad life.
Yeah. I can't wait for episode 2, though, man. You're a part 2er coming up. Episode 152, an absolute banger, triple OG. Even though he's too young to be one, he's still considered that. Mr. Jack Cruz-Dumont, thanks to our listeners, our sponsors, and we will see you on the next one.